Hello there, Angela. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet me today for this coaching session for the coaching deep dive. I hope that you are okay if we use this video on YouTube.
Absolutely.
All right. So what is it that I can help you work on today?
Well, I have my stepkids are coming to visit here in a couple of weeks, and they want to do the Freedom Trail around Boston, and I would like to lose a little bit of weight before they get here to kind of help so that I'm not breathing so hard and leaning against building while they want to visit.
So I'm hearing you say that you would like to exercise or you would like to change your eating habits.
I think eating habits to take a little bit of the weight off.
Okay.
Just to be able to trim up a little bit.
So when you look at the way that you currently eat, is it that you eat the wrong things?
Yes.
Okay. So what to you in your mind's eye, you personally, is the wrong things?
I do really well on doing like the carb-free or low carb or keto. My body reacts really fast to that.
Okay. And you're not currently eating that diet?
No.
So what are some of the cheat foods?
Bread.
Oh,
Bread
girl.
and lots of bread.
I feel you.
I love bread.
So if you could stop for just a moment, do you mind closing your eyes?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm just going to say the word bread. And I want you to tell me what emotions come up.
Good ones. Warm and comforting and smells good and home.
Is there by any chance like a little highlight reel of memories that goes by in the subconscious?
Well, we used to live by a bakery, and my grandmother was a chef, and she used to bake wonderful things.
About how old would this be?
I would say starting 8th grade, she came to live with us. So 8th grade through high school.
Was the family life before Grandma came to stay with you rocky at all?
Mm-hmm.
So was Grandma by any chance a buffer?
No, she came about a year after my mom met my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just we all moved up to Gold Beach. And it was just, everything was different all of a sudden. The whole world changed when we moved to Gold Beach. It became positive.
Okay, so prior to that, so I just want to revisit something really quick because it kind of confuses me. Your mom met your dad after you were born?
Yeah, when I was 10.
So this is your stepdad?
Correct.
So the relationship between your mom and your stepdad up until Grandma's arrival was rocky?
Oh, no, it was great. No, he came in and saved us, basically.
Okay, so Grandma wasn't what necessarily began the upward tick in the improvement of your life.
No, but she came at the same time as the upward tick.
Gotcha. So Grandma and the stepdad at the same time? Same range?
Same range, yeah.
Okay.
Same range.
And before Grandma and the stepdad came, I'm guessing that there was at least a little emotional volatility involved?
At least a little.
Okay. I don't want to make it.
Well, no, it's okay. It's cool. My dad abandoned us when I was 2. And so, just the usual stuff that happens when mom has to work and raise 3 kids with no child support in a man's world at the time, that she had to work twice as hard, and the men around her got raises because they had families to raise, and not her, because she was a woman on her own with no child support with a family to raise.
I'm really sorry. That must have been rough for you.
It was rough for everybody, yeah.
Would it be fair to say that prior to that changing, that there wasn't a lot of tasty, fresh-baked bread?
No. Yes, that would be, well, we did have hot chocolate and toast for supper a lot. So, so maybe that was always a treat. Pancakes for supper was a treat.
Treat because it was something that you enjoyed, or a treat?
Yeah, we enjoyed it, but that was all mom could afford.
Gotcha. So what was the difference between the food that you enjoyed with mom prior to stepdad and grandma and the food after stepdad and grandma arrived?
I don't remember anything but hot chocolate and toast and pancakes before
Ah,
grandma and dad.
got it.
I
Now,
don't, the other meals, I know we had other meals, but I don't recall.
mm, and would you say that the quality of the food that you ate up until that time was a little bit on the processed side?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mom was pretty tired.
I can only imagine. Can
Hmm.
only imagine. So after,
Well, and of course I don't remember. So there
mhm,
could have been other things. I
mhm,
just know the things that I like or what stands out in my memory.
mm. When is the first time that you made the conscious connection between bread and emotional happiness?
I was always happy when we had pancakes and hot chocolate and toast for supper.
Is there a specific memory that comes to mind when you think of having pancakes or
For
hot?
some reason, the basement apartment, that was a scary place because I was the oldest. And so, sometimes I'd be in charge of my two younger siblings.
Mm-hmm,
And sometimes people would walk by the windows, the basement apartment windows and the alley in the back.
mm-hmm,
And I remember one time a man looked down into the window.
mm.
One of those times when we were by ourselves, there was a neighbor that was kind of keeping an eye on us, but I was too afraid to go out to the neighbor's house because that man was out there. Just things like that. That was
It
kind of,
must have felt like you were kind of trapped down there.
it was just a little scary because I don't like basements very much.
Hmm. But you were you in contact with the basement prior to that, or was this your first experience with the basement?
No, we lived in a basement apartment.
But prior to this basement apartment, had you ever had any contact with the basement?
No,
So it was this basement apartment that gave rise to your dislike of basements?
I never thought of it, but possibly. We
Was there,
didn't live there a long time. We lived in a house before that.
and you say that you don't remember much of this time.
Mm-mm.
Mm. Did mom have a lot of boyfriends?
No.
So it was just mom and the kids, basically.
Hmm.
And it sounds like you were kind of fulfilling the role of the second parent at that time.
Yeah, I always did it. It was kind of rough when Dad came along because I thought I was the boss, and so it was an interesting little dynamic change.
Wow. I would not want to be the man butting heads with you in that situation.
Oh, why do you think I do what I do now?
Penance, perhaps?
Oh my God, yeah. That poor man. Oh,
Wow. So, because of the arrival of stepdad, grandma, you were able to move to Oregon where life got significantly better.
absolutely, yeah.
And then food, was food still a way that you remember
It got
feeling
better.
better through, or
Yeah.
did food become more of a this is how I thrive feeling to it? Like a healthier, more nutritious, nourishing feel to the food.
Oh no, it was just good. Grandma would do things like make big cinnamon rolls like this big.
God
Gigantic.
bless grandma, huh?
Yeah, every morning when I'd say, "Okay, I'm going to go on a diet," it was like she had this psychic connection. I'd come home from school and there'd be a big pan of cinnamon rolls. So she
Mm,
baked stuff like that. But the food was good. We ate better um, quality of food, definitely. There was
mm.
more cooking, and I don't remember the food, but I do remember the first time I tried to cook a meal for my boyfriend. I made a tuna casserole and made him violently ill, and I didn't cook for years, in fact. For about 45 more years.
Wow. That's pretty intense, lady.
Uh-huh.
That's really intense. Almost like death sick or
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, it was pretty violently ill.
wow. So something just came to me to try, kind of an energetic NLP kind of thing. Would you be willing to kind of play with something with me?
Sure.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to explore your ability to create the same uplifted emotional state with your own energy as opposed to food. Would you be willing to try that with me?
Sure.
Okay. So if you don't mind closing your eyes, I'd just love for you to take a moment and kind of just ground to get comfortable where you're at. And just breathe in and breathe out a couple of times. Just start to let your body relax. It's the end of the day. I'm sure that you've been busy. There you go. Just leaning back and kind of just relaxing into the space that you're in. There's nothing that needs to be thought about, figured out, controlled, or protected from. Just you in this space. Now, I'd like you to take me back to one of those times in Oregon, maybe sitting around the table with mom and dad and grandma, having one of those really incredible cinnamon rolls. Can you do that for me? Why don't you tell me about that?
Actually, I'm not remembering us sitting around a table.
What are you remembering?
Raiding the pan as soon as I got home from school.
So tell me about that. Tell me about coming home from school, finding a pan of cinnamon rolls, and
Damn it, Grandma.
Good stuff, right?
Oh, man.
Can you taste it?
Mm.
What does that sugary taste do inside your brain? What do you feel as a sensation in your brain as soon as you put that first bite of sugary sweet roll in your mouth?
Happy.
You start to get those synapses firing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So
Yeah, it's
this,
almost like little fireworks going off.
like behind your eyes as you're
Yeah,
eating?
up in my brain. Little fireworks show.
Mm. That must feel really relaxing and comforting. This particular memory that you have of coming home from school and raiding the pan, was there anything that happened during that day at school?
Mm. Well, there was a lot of things that happened at school.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, because the 8th grade was the most traumatic, but it turned into something good.
Mm.
I made enemies with the popular kids right off the bat, so
Why does this not surprise me?
I have a knack for this stuff. Um, so that was, you know, uh, I'm sure I had up and down emotions about all of that.
Mm. So I'd just like you to breathe into that space of those up and down emotions, that volatility that was happening at school. Okay? Just like you to breathe into that space, and I would like you to imagine that you are breathing in through your heart chakra. Can you do that for me? Right there in the center of your chest. And that as you're pulling that air in to your heart chakra, and it begins to turn this beautiful color of green, whatever color works best for you, whatever color makes you feel best. Can you do that for me? And as you're breathing it in through that heart chakra and it's turning that perfect color of green for you, I'd like you to just imagine that green beginning to spread through your entire body, up into your shoulders, your arms, down through your wrists and into your hands, up through your neck and into the cranial cavity, into your brain, down from the heart chakra into the stomach, into the place where we digest and feel our food, and then down into the pelvic floor, the hips, into the legs, the knees, and the feet. I'd like you to just sit there for a moment with that perfect green light just starting to circulate through your body. You can see it beginning to spin like a wheel up into your brain and then back down your spine, down into the pelvic floor, and then back up and through your brain and back down your spine again, and just letting it blossom like a flower. And as you're doing that, I just want to invite you to step a little bit outside of your body. Just that quick and easy step where you just step forward, just a couple of paces. And then I'd like to invite you to turn around and to watch this light just so effortlessly and easily cycling through your body, this healing, nourishing green light. Can you tell me what you see going on in your body?
Yeah, it's like the outline of my body, and then the green light's like smoke, just filling in the outlines.
And how is your brain feeling?
Good.
Now I'd like you to imagine this same green light starting to be absorbed into your cells. These same cells that have developed the craving for these sweet carbs. No judgment being made, just your cells just starting to just drink that in, kind of like a sponge that's dry and gets put over a puddle of water. There's nothing that you need to do, just allow this to happen. Allow the cells to begin to just drink in this light. And then as the cells are drinking in the light, just allowing yourself to see that green begin to leak down into the level of your DNA until you can start to see all of the DNA helix strands in your body just filling so easily with this green smoke. Can you do that for me? I just invite you to feel how fulfilling this feels. How there's nothing that needs to be fixed or run from. But everything just becomes so peaceful and easy. And now leaking down past the DNA to the atomic level, to the level of neutrons, protons, electrons, and all of that empty space in the atom. And just seeing this green smoke now just beginning to fill all the empty space of every atom in your body. And how easily they fill. They just drink this light up so easily. And it begins to spin in each atom around the nucleus. And as this is happening, I want you to tell me, what are you feeling, my love?
Well, I'm feeling and thinking and feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
My body feels really relaxed, and I like that sensation. I can see the green absorbing everywhere.
How is
And
your
realizing the connection is the toast, the hot chocolate and toast and the pancakes. That's where,
That's
because
where
that was the bleak, that was the darkness, and those were the lights.
Is there a specific memory that pops up in relation to those foods?
I just remember sitting at the table and being happy that we had hot chocolate and toast.
Mm.
And
Can you describe the scene that's going on around you?
I think it was a yellow kitchen, and I'm on my knees on the chair on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a stack of toast on the table. And Mom made hot chocolate, so Mom's sitting there with us,
Mm-hmm.
and we get hot chocolate and toast for supper. And I like hot chocolate and toast, and I like having Mom because I missed my mom. I liked spending time with my mom.
Mm. It sounds like it's a really full memory.
Yeah, I just see smiles. And peripherally, I see my sister and brother, but I see my mom's face smiling, and I'm smiling, and I'm looking at that stack of toast and good things and yum, and hot chocolate and toast are my favorite. And having Mom at the table with us is wonderful.
Mm.
And we're in that basement apartment.
Would you mind trying something for me? I'd like for you to reach out and to take Mom's hand if you can do that. Let me know when and if you can complete that.
It's a little emotional.
I know. I'm right here. I'm right here with you. Whatever it is that you're feeling is
It's kind of weird because she turned into a picture
a picture of what?
herself. There's a beautiful picture of my mom, and it's like I'm holding her hand, but I see a picture instead of her.
Mm.
It's this beautiful picture of her smiling.
Mm. Is this a picture from after you moved to Oregon?
No, this is a picture around that time, somewhere in that time frame.
So Mom has collapsed from 3D down to 2D in the memory?
Yeah, it's a specific picture.
What is the emotional attachment to this picture?
I love this picture. My mom's beautiful, and as 3 kids are standing around her.
Mm. Can you step into this picture of you, Mom, and your 2 siblings?
For some reason, that feels better.
Mm.
I don't remember taking the picture.
Mm. Well, now that you're standing in the picture with your mom, can you describe to me what you're feeling emotionally?
Proud of my mom.
Mm. Are you happy? Are you sad?
No, I'm happy.
And from where you are standing in the picture right now, can you see back out the picture into the kitchen where you were just standing? Or actually kneeling, I should say.
I keep seeing it from the other angle.
Are you in the kitchen as well, or just the picture?
Well, see, now the whole picture of all 3 of us is at the end of the table. I'm sitting on the chair here. The table goes like this, and I'm seeing everything from over here looking that. And I was in the picture, but when I look out, I keep going back over to this place over here and looking past myself, looking at the picture. With the picture, I don't know if you can see my hands. The picture at the end of the table.
So you're looking over your own shoulder.
Correct.
What are you, the person that you are looking over, feeling right now?
Tightness.
Where at?
My chest.
I'd like you, the observer, to just simply place your hand on the shoulder of the self that you are observing and just send some calming energy through your hands into this version of yourself. Can you do that for me? How do you feel?
I don't know.
Are you feeling kind of lost right now? Okay. I'd like you to just step back completely from that memory of the kitchen. Can you do that for me? Do you feel comfortable doing that? I'd like you to just step out. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just don't have any Kleenexes. Wasn't expecting to need any.
Do you want to go get some? I can wait here.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Why don't you talk to me about what that experience felt like for you?
Interesting. I know that I was afraid there a lot.
Mm.
And I think it was Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave was the adult in the building down on the other end of the apartments. There was like, I don't know, like 10 apartments, I think, there. And it was just,
Is
so
this
there's,
something that you
go
would like to explore?
um, yeah, it's kind of interesting because all of a sudden it's like, that's where the comfort of the food is coming from.
Mm.
That's the comfort, the happiness of having that food in that place. Because that was pretty bleak. There was a lot of fear going on there.
The comfort of the food was coming from the memory that you have of your mom being present, or it was covering the fear that you had of Uncle Dave?
No, I wasn't afraid of Uncle Dave. Just he was the adult that if I needed help, I could go to Uncle Dave. He
Okay, I
was in
misunderstood.
the apartment at the end.
Okay,
So he was a friend of my mom's in the end apartment.
okay.
But for the most part, I didn't go. Plus I was afraid to go outside in the dark anyway.
So I'm picking up, number one, on a lot of tightness in the way that you're talking. Am I correct there?
Yeah, my throat is kind of closed up.
Yeah. So what I would just like to do really quickly is for you to just give your brain permission to acknowledge where you are right now, how old you are, and that you're safe. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to give your brain permission to just open your throat back up again. That it's okay to talk about this. It's okay. Are you all right doing that?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how old I was there. I think that must have been the first grade
Mm.
because I went to Northside in the first grade and we had a babysitter who gave us our choice of either ketchup sandwiches or mayonnaise sandwiches. Her daughter got meat on her sandwiches, but
Mm.
didn't like her very much. So we had our babysitter after school, but that must have been when we lived in that apartment, because the rest of the time we lived in a place called the greenhouse, except for in the 4th grade.
Mm.
So it must have been around the 1st grade is all I could think of.
And it's right around
I
this
was around
time.
5 or 6 years old.
And the fear that you speak of is also throughout this period of time, the fear of being down in the basement and not
Yeah,
being
that's
able.
when we lived there. That's when we lived there. It was only for a year.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I went to kindergarten in grammar number 2, 1st grade in Northside, and we went back to grammar number 2 in 2nd grade. So there was 3 elementary schools.
Now, I just want to ask a question, and I'm actually going to be bringing into the session some pre-existing knowledge that I have of you. Are you okay with that?
Yes,
Okay. Is this around the same time that you had the boyfriend that you were defending?
that was the 4th. Yes, except for he wasn't at the Northside. He was still back at grammar number 2. So when I moved to the Northside, I moved away from him until
But
the 2nd grade when I moved back.
all around this same period of time, you
Yes.
were standing up for a boy who was getting bullied pretty regularly.
Yes, but not in this place. In this place, I was alone. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody.
So you were utterly in. I can imagine that at that age, it must have felt somewhat like being trapped,
Yeah,
altogether trapped.
and I didn't like the basement, and I didn't like people looking in the windows.
I'm so
So I was
sorry.
scared.
I can only imagine how frightening that must have been.
So hot chocolate and toast was definitely a bright point.
Yeah. Can you see how your adult mind is still attaching
Comfort.
comfort to the food?
That's a little spot of happiness, because there wasn't much happiness during that period. And I'm sure we did things because my mom was a good mom. So, we'd go to the park and things like that. But in that place, that's the only thing I can remember is the man looking in the window and that hot chocolate and toast, just being afraid a lot.
So let me ask your adult mind a question. Is there a need for this emotional signature to food anymore? Are you still in that same apartment?
Mm-mm.
Are you alone without any friends?
Mm-mm.
Are you being babysat by a woman who treats you less than she treats her own child?
Mm-mm.
So can you give your brain permission to begin to let this cord unravel? You see how trying to nitpick what you eat when you have a cord attached to a memory that's this vivid and vibrant is really heaping abuse on that poor little girl that was just trying to survive?
Mm-hmm.
You look very, very sad right now. What do you need to say?
Well, because it's not like it was traumatic or anything. It's just interesting.
You are a woman who feels extremely deeply. Am I correct?
Mm.
So is trauma the event that happened, or is it the experience of the person witnessing and involved in the event?
Yeah.
Can you give yourself that grace? This
And
was traumatic for you.
yeah. And I was responsible for my little brother and sister. The lady, we went there after school, but at nighttime we were home. And, we were home a lot alone because of mom's shifts. I'm not sure how that worked out or how often it was. I don't recall that much about that period except for being home alone at night and Uncle Dave being up the street
Mm.
when mom worked. And, my brother and sister, because I was responsible.
Mm.
So maybe it didn't happen very often. I don't really know.
Well, there's a reason why your mind is protecting you from it. You don't really need to know that reason right now. You just need to trust that your mind has your best interest at heart. Correct?
Yeah, but it makes sense. Everything, all of our memories, all of our literal translations come before 7 years old usually. And
Yeah.
hot chocolate and toast made me damn happy. And very little made me happy during that period. So
Would you mind talking to me about what makes you happy now?
everything.
Well, just tell me a couple things. Describe them to me.
I'm happy every day. Everything. I just enjoy a beautiful day. I enjoy just sitting, reading a book, sitting next to my husband, just not even talking, or I don't know, there's everything every day. There's a lot that I'm grateful for every single day.
So
But I'm just happy. I'm just happy.
So when you think about a beautiful day, what is it about that beautiful day that makes you happy?
I woke up.
Okay. Is it the
I woke
color
up and
of
got
the
to
sky?
experience. No,
Is
it
it the
doesn't matter if it's
vitamin D of
rainy.
the sun?
It doesn't matter if it's sunny. It doesn't matter if it's rainy.
Just that you woke up.
I'm just every single day I'm so grateful for the life that I have. I am so
Wow.
happy that I get to live this life.
That you get to read.
I get to do whatever I want to do. It's just, I don't get to fly to Paris, but I don't really want to do that yet. If I really wanted to do it, I'm sure I could find a way to do it,
Knowing you, yes, you could.
Yes. And
When you were motivated.
That makes me happy because I do know that I can do anything that I set my mind to do. I've done it and I know that I can do it. And that right there makes me happy.
So can you set your mind to not using bread?
I knew that was going to trap me.
You had to know that wasn't just going to right by me.
As soon as you said you have to, I was like, crap.
No, come back. But with your happiness, then, you are a genuinely happy, bubbly
that's
person.
what doesn't make sense to me. That it's not like I'm stuffing down emotions currently.
But can you see the way that at a very young, impressionable state in your life, you created a neural groove that equated those sweet carbs with happiness?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you need to cover anything up or that it's not a lack of understanding here. That was a path that has been worn. And then even after you got out of that situation, that path has been used over and over by your brain.
Eating good food makes me happy. It really, even today, it's just like I do this. I get so excited.
I do too. Like if somebody makes me like an incredible veggie burger,
I love it.
Oh, almost to the point of making obscene noises while I'm eating. That kind of enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, I enjoy it a lot. Except for when I want to control this. I've got too much of me, and because it's not healthy.
I can't imagine that there would ever be a time where there would be too much you.
There's people who have said they had too much, man. You're too much.
That makes no sense to me whatsoever. This was a very eventful session, and there is a lot to talk about here. So if there's something that one of you noticed, something that you would have done differently, something that you locked onto that I did not, let's have it.
Or my cat doesn't know how to stay out of the way. Just one thing that I caught there near the end that I really wanted to mention was how you asked her, like, what makes her happy. And then she, like, mentioned everything, but she kept coming back to the word gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
She never said something that made her happy. She was grateful for waking up. She was grateful for sitting next to her husband, grateful for reading a book. And so I'm not sure if she's just not differentiating between the two, but she definitely needs to. I was very glad that you kind of brought her back with the trauma thing, because she said, oh, it's not that it was traumatic, but she wasn't giving herself permission to say, like, you know, I had a point in my childhood where it was traumatic. There was trauma there. You know, there were things that happened that made me scared, made me fearful. And it's, you know, she needs to accept that and then move forward from it, because I know, like, my dad left when I was 3 months old, so I know how hard that is. And my mom didn't get remarried until I was 16. So I understand some of that aspect of it. So it was kind of interesting that she, even today, everything you went through, she still didn't give herself permission to say, I had a traumatic experience.
Do you catch that at the beginning when we were talking about it and I said that must have been hard for you? Her response was, it was hard for my mom.
Yeah, she's not giving herself permission to feel her feelings. She's still in that state of needing to take care of everybody else.
Yep.
And not taking care of herself. And I realized that through a lot of the stuff that she was saying, especially when she was saying, like, I was the older one, I came home, I was responsible for my brother and sister, and all that stuff. And I get that, because even though I was the younger sibling, so my brother was 2 when my dad left, I still was the one that matured a bit quicker and took responsibility and stepped into that role. So I 100% get where she's coming from. So I know some of the things that I think she still needs to deal with. And she kind of skirted over one of the big ones, which was the abandonment of father.
Yep.
So that was something that I actually only journaled about probably 3 or 4 months ago now. That feeling of abandonment and, you know, what it meant for me growing up, not having that father figure, what it, you know, what it set for me in relationships going forward and all these different things. So that, I feel like that's still something that she needs to work through too, is obviously something that, you know, needs to go over a whole bunch of different sessions, because it's a hard thing to deal with. But yeah, I feel like she's not giving herself permission to feel everything fully, because like you said, she does feel deeply. One thing I found
what she wants to feel deeply.
Yeah, what she wants to. She's not feeling everything. When you brought up the boy that was being bullied.
You caught that?
Yeah, so I caught that. I don't think she did.
Nope.
That is what, that was one of the things that made her feel fearful. It may not have been that she was in a basement apartment and the guy looking through the window. It may have been fearful that what is happening to this boy while I'm not there? What is going on?
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Guilt of not being able to be there for him anymore. He's at a different school, right? So all of that goes on with it too. It wasn't just, you know, there's a man looking through the basement window because we're in the basement, and, you know, it's just me and the mom and the kids, the siblings, and that, I feel like there's a bit of guilt there as well, because now she's in a different place and she wasn't able to still help this kid. So I feel like
that's a good catch, Canada.
Hidden under there.
Good catch. Anybody else?
I picked up on some of the same stuff that Canada did. Sorry about that. It's got a nickname.
I'm cool with it. I like my country.
But at the end, when you asked her, what makes you happy, and she
wouldn't
sat
describe
there,
it.
well, she listed all of those things, and the entire time her head was going like this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even catch that, Sarah.
Yeah.
And she only spoke about things she enjoyed, things she had gratitude. She never once said one thing she was happy for.
You guys are
But
brilliant.
earlier, twice, when you asked her, like right at the beginning, when you asked her about bread, her whole face was like,
Lit up.
oh, love. I mean, she like her everything changed. And then when you were doing like the emotion state elicitation with her, and when you had her, come home from school, and she said, oh, that first bite makes me happy. So those 2 times she did talk about happy,
Yep.
but everything else, her body language was denying everything she spoke.
And she wouldn't, like, did you see the detail with which she discussed bread and cinnamon rolls? And when I tried to get her to take even a little teeny tiny foray into the details of what are you happy about now, it's like, oh, I'm just happy.
Yeah, everything.
Right?
Everything. I'm happy about everything. Yeah, so like that was really powerful body language going on with her spoken word. And I think you have an opportunity to go in and really dig into limiting beliefs around food, because she sold herself the idea when she cooked for her boyfriend and made him sick that she can't cook good food.
That's such a good catch. And that she's just recently started cooking again, too.
Yeah.
After 40 some odd years.
Yeah, and it's because now she's taking an interest in getting control over her weight. Yeah.
All amazing catches, sir. Karen, Justin, anything you caught that you'd like to discuss?
There were 2 things. Okay, the first thing was I saw her using the going to get a tissue as a way to come back into being herself.
Yep.
And that if you had told her, don't worry about the tears, just let them keep running, use your shirt, whatever, we're perfectly good. Let's just stay where we are right now. I think if you'd asked her the same question about her happiness, she may have been able to adjust it to the feeling of the bread and how the food brings her, that she's letting the food bring her happiness. But what I saw the food as from the very beginning was the replacement parent.
Yeah.
And that when she was sitting there looking at her mother's smile with this stack of toast, and then you took her to the picture of she couldn't get in there because the toast was in the way. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and then how she's looking over her own, she's looking literally past herself.
Right.
That was so powerful that she was literally looking over her own shoulder and past herself, like completely looking. Wow.
Right. And the lack of feeling worthy of love in the direct way of her mother's protection and her mother's comfort without putting food between them.
Yeah.
I just saw that as a really, when she couldn't see her mother in 3 dimension, I felt that disconnect from being able to reach out and touch her mother
now.
Right. Just like the toast.
Exactly. Because the actual connection is too terrifying, because what did she lose early in life? The connection to her father.
Right. So if I were to work with her, I would say, we may go deep. Have a box of tissues nearby because you might need them.
Oh, I plan on that for the
or roll of toilet paper.
Did you see the look on my face after she left, and there was like the dawning for a second of she may not come back from this.
Yes, she didn't, but she didn't come back. She didn't come back in the therapy session. I didn't see.
In
I didn't
fact,
see. The
did you
same
notice how
connection.
she was like this after she
Mhm.
got back? There was
Right.
the eye contact that I had with her before was gone, and it was like, especially when she talked about the woman that just gave them
Mhm.
ketchup sandwiches while her children got meat. She couldn't. It was
Right.
like the food thing was now prevent, because that was the source of anger, that I didn't get the same quality of
Right.
food as your children.
That you're not worthy of it, because she's putting food and worth together so much in terms of worthy of love, and that if I don't have this love, I'm gonna have toast.
Yeah.
But
Because her mom demonstrated love by giving her hot chocolate and toast.
But do you see how she tries to back out of that by saying, well, that's all that we could afford?
Yeah. Well, I mean, her 5-year-old mind was justifying everything.
How about you,
she's
Justin?
protecting.
I was wondering if there was a connection between her safety and relief of her mom's here. It's dark time, it's dinner, I don't have to be in charge. And we have hot chocolate and sweets and bread. Oh, this is great.
It's the best memory ever.
Best memory ever. I don't have to be responsible. The other thing I think I caught is her gratitude. She's in charge. She puts all the kids to bed, and there's a scary monster outside her window. However, her brain looks at this and, oh my God, we woke up. Everybody's safe. I'm so grateful.
Good point, Justin.
Maybe. So that's
And
what
when you have that kind of fear at that age, it's very easy to catastrophize something to the point of just waking up is a victory.
It's victory.
That's really brilliant, Justin. I saw your face light up at one point, like really light, like you got super happy and excited. What was that about?
I think it's when you actually caught her, but I think it was the second time she grabbed her throat, because I knew something was really getting ready to come out. And then I was trying to pinpoint what that was, and it was the fear. That was the fear, I think, of, help me out, ladies. What did you see there? Because I think it was the fear of going to bed and being home at dark time and not wanting to go outside that door to go get help if she needed it.
What do you think, Sarah? I could see you.
Yeah,
wondering.
and I think it was she probably spent a lot of time literally swallowing down that fear just to stay safe in what she thought was her safe space. I was curious about Uncle Dave. Like, is he a biological uncle? Or
I got the feeling that he was a friend who lived in the building. And I tried to explore that with her, and she did not want to discuss Uncle Dave.
yeah, so I feel like there's definitely something there. And I just felt like she didn't want to connect back with that fear. Like it's massive. There's something there that
It's way bigger than what we're discussing here.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the fear, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, and the fact that she didn't see him as safety.
Right.
That was from the first time she mentioned the going to the neighbor's house who's supposed to be looking after us. I felt that the hair on the back of my neck sort of went, wait a minute.
Mine. So did mine. And then when she called him Uncle Dave, and then a few bars later into the discussion, it became obvious, at least it became obvious to me, maybe I perceived it wrong, but that he wasn't a biological family member.
Right.
There was that moment of, she's my mom's friend.
Right.
Yes.
That was that moment of, oh shit, I hope there's nothing there.
Yeah. And I feel like there was.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I say I feel like it, but of course.
But that's what the catch in the throat is.
That's exactly what I
Yes,
thought.
there's a truth around that whole thing that needs to be spoken, that she either isn't willing or able to see your face right now.
but she's blocked it down so much that anytime it gets close to being spoken of, which then makes it a reality, which for her right now, if she's not thinking about it, if it's pushed down that far, it's not real. Maybe it didn't happen or whatever the case may be. But the second she gets close to talking about it, it catches, because then if she voices it, it makes it real. It gives it a picture. It gives it a name. It gives it all that. And maybe for her, that might feel like her power being taken away again, right? Because if something did happen and her power was taken away, if she brings that back up again, then that power's gone all over again. So when she does come and eventually maybe she will get around to talking about it, I feel like it needs to be led into with the fact that, things that have happened in your past, just because you give them a voice now does not mean that they are taking your power away again. You are still in charge. Giving them a voice now relinquishes the control and the power that they still hold over you.
Yeah.
Right?
And did you catch how she needed to specifically say that this situation was not traumatic?
Yeah.
She needed to make sure that it was labeled that this wasn't trauma.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's because she sees it as trauma or because she sees other people going through so much more that it makes her feel like hers was not traumatic.
Or
Right. There's another coping mechanism, like, oh, well, my stuff isn't as bad as so-and-so, so I should just be quiet about it.
Did anybody else pick up on the other side of that, which is that her subconscious very well probably does know exactly what trauma is, and this wasn't it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of defense of the mother's behavior.
Yeah.
And a lot of extreme defense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the grandmother coming in was almost like the white knight coming in to save the family. Where when you explore it deeper with her, I would be interested to know if there's some uncovering of mom not being perfect, of mom not doing the right thing by leaving her children alone at night. These things that she's repressed, that she still wants her mom to be happy no matter what. So when mom says, you be a good girl now, you take care of these children, I have to go to work, we have no choice. It's okay. She's like, okay, mom is right. Mom is right no matter what.
Yeah.
And I want to keep mom happy.
Well, and she's holding her up here, right? She's holding her up on that pedestal. Like my mom was a single parent of 2 and she worked a lot. And I know she wasn't perfect. I know she did things like at times maybe she shouldn't have left us at home, or maybe she, we were at work with her, or whatever the case may be. There were things that she did that probably weren't good. But the second she said one little thing about, mom not being there or whatever, she came right back at it and was like, but she was a good mom, don't get me wrong, like she was a good parent.
Almost like the Madonnification.
Yeah.
So she's still trying to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, she's protecting her mom's integrity.
Yeah.
And then her own sense of value because of it.
Yeah.
Explore that some more, sir.
So everything that she does to uplift and uphold this elevated status of her mother is to support her own role as the caretaker of everybody, which is where she finds her value. Right? Like she didn't just get to be a kid and with the irresponsibility of a kid. She had to be the caretaker, and she demonstrates that through everything. I got a sense that there was an event that happened, and this has to do with Uncle Dave, that she did try to talk with her mom, and she was squashed on it. and not allowed to talk about it. So I think that's why like that is covered over and sealed up.
When the toast and cocoa was pushed forward.
Yes, exactly.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay, honey. Have some toast.
Right. Nothing, nothing happened. So,
And for those of us that know Angela and have experienced Angela when she's upset, she is not a quiet person.
right.
She's not going to quietly discuss something. And I also found it very interesting, the headbutting that went on between her and the stepfather or the boyfriend that came in. That I remember that because my father left for a year and went to Colorado pursuing the pipe dream of a church. And after he left, I became, as the eldest, I became in a way my mom's spouse for that period of time. And then when my father came back, it felt like, and I know this doesn't sound normal, but it felt like being kicked to the curb after a relationship is what it felt like, because dad was back and I wasn't needed anymore. But I never felt a contest with him. It was the letdown of, she doesn't love me the same way anymore.
Like you got demoted.
Yes.
And in your mind, you got demoted in love.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if there's a little bit of that going on underneath the...
I mean, think about her reality back then. In order to get love and comfort from her mom, what she had to do was keep everybody safe.
Including the stray boy at school.
Yeah, which unfortunately my internet crapped out at that moment, so I sort of missed that part. But I picked up on it from what Karen was saying. But she has extrapolated that out into her entire life, right? That's what she does for everybody. Take care of everybody else, and then mom will come in and hopefully take care of me.
Yeah.
And that's when the food keeps coming into the picture for me. Being a lifelong person that struggles with eating problems, the food becomes the representation of happiness, love, protection.
And mom coming in to take care of me.
Right. The replacement spouse, the replacement lover, the replacement, whatever it is that you're lacking in that moment, the food becomes that replacement.
Yeah.
And so that if I was trying to treat her for an eating disorder, I would continually try to encourage ways to find replacement behaviors for the food, replacement options for the food. What is the way that you can develop your happiness that's not related to the cinnamon rolls, coming home and diving into those after a tough day in 8th grade.
Do you think there's a possibility that she doesn't understand what happiness is?
I think she understands it on an intellectual level, but I think her body's still responding to the sugar and the terrible emotions that food can create just by the chemical reactions in your body.
So she's responding to the release of the serotonin and the dopamine as a result of the foods that she's eating, but doesn't necessarily understand that that can happen without the food.
Well, the same way any addict responds to any kind of stimulation from anything. I mean, food is addictive as a way to solve a problem. I mean, just like anything else that we use and abuse in the way to make ourselves feel better. But in childhood, the things that we do are things that we have the ability to do, which is food or breaking toys or beating up people or, whatever behavior we choose to feel power. Her power was food as a child.
Right. And her power also came from her own sense of importance of taking care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So those two are really linked.
And did you see how when she brings up the bread in relation to the other woman, there's an extreme amount of anger there, even though mom fed her the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was because with mom.
There, though,
what?
she was denied the meat.
Right.
The love, her daughter had it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Good point.
Because with the
But there-
mom, it was, we
there
all
was-
got the same thing.
Yeah.
But
And
with the
so it would
babysitter, it was
create this
nothing.
cognitive dissonance for her, right? Where
Oh,
I get
God.
hot chocolate and toast, which is heaven, or I get my choice between a ketchup sandwich or a mayonnaise sandwich because I'm not worth anything.
Not worth the meat.
Yeah, not worth the meat.
But then when she's not given meat by mom, there's extreme happiness. Is it because of the inequality of treatment? Is that what you feel is going on there?
It's because when she doesn't, not getting the meat from her mom doesn't register.
Right.
What registers is her mom worked her butt off, and, you know, when she could, that was what they got was toast. So that
Everybody
was,
got it.
yeah, everybody got it. Everybody was the same. That was the special thing, like, that mom worked for. And even though she was tired and that was all she could give us, that was amazing, right?
Do you
So
think there's anything going on underneath that of I deserved a little bit extra because I was the one taking care of everyone?
No, I think she resents her mother for putting her in the position. And I think there needs to become a point of forgiveness for mom. That she can intellectually say, I forgive you, mom, but she's still feeling that pain of being put in the position she was in as a child.
Right, because her own paradigm within her family unit was, okay, this hot chocolate and food equals love and comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes into a different environment with the babysitter, and all of a sudden the same ingredients, bread, it's not the same, and it's demonstrated for her how other people have more value than you do, because you know what, the babysitter's kid gets the meat and she gets none. So there's like that disparity, but it's also this demonstration for her, like, right, you get, you know, hot chocolate and toast here, but in the real world that doesn't mean you're worth it.
yeah, that makes sense. She's putting the anger on the babysitter instead of her mom.
Yeah.
Right. And because she doesn't want to be angry at her mom because her mom's beautiful and she's doing the best she can.
Yeah.
Misplacing the anger.
So what would it mean for her, in your experience, if she were to accept that what mom did was not necessarily right, but it was the best that she could do with what she had to offer at the time?
That and forgiving. I think she's angry with her mom. In as an adult, I mean, if all of us looking at a situation like this as an adult and thinking of a person leaving their 5-year-old with 2 other children in charge alone in a basement apartment, we're all appalled, right? Intellectually. And she is an intellectual, intelligent woman. So looking back at that, she's got to be pissed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be pissed?
But she has to grab that, though. Like, she has to accept that first before forgiveness can happen. Because until she accepts it and comes to terms with it, that mom wasn't perfect, and my anger with the babysitter isn't because the babysitter gave her kid meat and only gave us ketchup and mayo. It's because we didn't get meat at home. We never got that. Why did we never get it? You know, like, so she has to come to terms with, mom wasn't perfect, but she did the best she could, and I am a little angry about some of the things that happened. Then she can step into the forgiveness side of it. But until she acknowledges that there's anger towards her mother, she's not going to get to that forgiveness point.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know her, is her mom still alive?
Justin, I don't know.
I don't know, but I would maybe explore, because when she did talk about the bread in the very, very beginning, she used a metaphor of fireworks.
Yeah.
It was like fireworks in my brain. I wonder if that was actual anger or if that was how she translates that. That's what I wonder.
To me, that was the beginning of her addiction.
To me, yeah. I mean, her face was like, but
Such joy.
But she has a little mismatch because Sarah pointed out she was talking and going like this at the end. I just wondered, it might be fun to explore that.
Well,
The
and
reason
Go
reason
ahead.
I asked if her mother was still alive was because, to me, when her mother went from 3D and you asked her reach out, and then she went to 2D, I was like, oh my God, is her mother gone? And she's trying to hold on to this perfect, happy memory as a way of remembering her
catch,
mom.
Canada.
Like, because she went from 3D to 2D, like, has her mom passed on? And this is the memories that she's choosing to hold on to, which is putting her control that should be in the present into the past.
I want to say that her mom has passed on, but I don't have a specific memory of a conversation to confirm that.
I don't
So
either.
that might be something to explore then.
Mm.
Because that was the first thing that popped into my head. As soon as she said her mom went to a 2D picture
I
and she
know, right?
grabbed her, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, she literally went from real life to an object.
Yeah. Like she was in a memory, and then the second you asked her to reach out and touch her, her unconscious mind kicked in and went, you can't do that anymore. And she automatically took her out of the reality, took her out of the memory.
Yes. And
See, and
then
that's
when
when
she
I felt
tried to
anger.
really
That's when I felt
talk
anger.
about that.
That's when I felt that she was angry, like she couldn't, that her mother wasn't able to give her that physical comfort that a mother is supposed to give you.
Supposed to, yeah.
That she pushed the toast and the hot chocolate forward instead of being able to reach out. When she tried to reach out and touch her, she couldn't. And when she was acting in the observer role, she was pained to even try to put her hand on the shoulder of her younger self. So that whole physical contact thing seemed, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I in therapy myself have felt this physical disconnect from my mother because she was not a physically affectionate person.
Mm-hmm.
And I could literally feel her pain in trying to reach out and touch her mother's hand, and I did not see that her being able to capable of grabbing her as a child and saying, "Mommy, don't leave. Mommy, please stay here. Mommy, I'm afraid." That she was not able to voice this, and as an adult looking back, I felt a little sense of anger. I really did.
I'm going to guess she did say all of those things to her mom at some point until her mom was like just putting her in her place and telling her, I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, I would imagine you're going to find, if you pursue this with her, memories of where she had to turn around, that door shuts, and then all of a sudden she's in charge and she's scared out of her wits and, crying. And
The man looking in through the apartment window really was a red flag to me because it was that feeling, not that anything even happened with him, it was just being observed by.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept bringing up basement. She brought up basement over and over and over again. And I made sure
You did.
to confirm with her, you had no prior contact with a basement. So 1 year in a basement created that. She said basement 4 different times in the session.
Mm-hmm.
That was
So
a lot.
something happened in that basement.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it didn't necessarily happen to her. It could have happened to someone.
Yeah.
But something did, because you don't develop that kind of obsession.
Oh man.
yeah, that
No.
visceral
So when
response.
Kieran said something happened and it might not have been to her,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
that just clicked because she is such a protective person.
Yeah.
So if something happened to somebody else in that basement apartment, it would have been 1,000,000 times worse than if it would have been to her. Because
Yeah, 'cause
then
it's her fault.
I can't protect them. I wasn't able to keep them safe.
I didn't do my job.
And getting Uncle Dave was not a source of safety. So is there a chance that she got Uncle Dave before and something happened with one of her siblings as a result?
Yeah. Right?
And then the inability to speak that would have been the inability to admit what she honestly believes is her fault and her failure.
Yeah.
Which it's not. It's hard to get to that it's not my fault area when you've held out, because she's still, like I said, like her control is nowhere near the present where it should be over her life. Her life is still controlled by the past. She has to be able to speak it to be able to cut the control from being in the past to bring it to her present.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll have, I feel like once she does that, she'll have a lot easier of a time getting into like not eating the bread if she doesn't need to, and losing the weight that she wants to, and doing the things that she wants to. But currently all of her, I feel like mostly all of her decisions that she's making in the present are controlled by that past experience that you went through with her. She has to reclaim her power.
Yeah. Powerful stuff, isn't it?
Definitely.
And you know, the thing about trauma with young children is it doesn't necessarily have to be the extreme event. It doesn't have to be an extreme thing that happens. It could simply be just something that scared the shit out of them, like a giant spider, or you know, but they can still anchor, for the way that I understand it, that you can still anchor to that horrible fear that this is going to harm me. So therefore, if mom and the toaster here, I'm safe and I'm loved.
I mean, if she's in the basement, it might have been a rat.
Yeah.
I mean, something really scary to little kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I mean, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean.
Or it could have been hunger.
Yeah.
It could have been extreme hunger.
And nothing to feed the kids. And
Right.
again, her not being able to protect and take care of them.
Right.
I feel like something that might help her is helping her understand that trauma is different for everybody. Like Karen said, to a 5-year-old, a trauma could be seeing a big spider, you know, like, and just because she labels what went on with her as trauma does not take anything away from the worst trauma that she feels everybody else has. And I feel that that's a fear for her, is that if she labels the small thing that she went through as trauma, then that like puts less value onto the major traumas that other people have.
Well,
So
she's
like
actually somebody who experienced quite a bit of trauma later in life that arose from an addiction that seems to be seated in this particular period of time. So I think there's a part of her that looks forward into her life and is like, oh, this isn't trauma. I know what trauma is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
so
she has to then realize that all of it is trauma.
Right.
Just because something was worse than something else doesn't mean that because this was less of a trauma, it's going to diminish the meaning of the future trauma.
And to that end, too, would the latter trauma have existed were it not for the former?
Yeah, that too.
All of it.
About that. Can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
No, but just the understanding that it all plays together, that what you might consider to be a little teeny tiny piece of the puzzle can actually be the corner piece on which everything else is built.
Yeah.
To protect the future from present to future.
Yes.
Yes. You can't, right. And from the other perspective, if you were to, you know, this, I love the method that you use to take her to the full, you know, 5 senses feeling of her experience. That was beautiful. Just to get to the technical aspects of what you did. I really love the way that you took it you took the bread and you found out the grounding piece for that. That was brilliant. I just wanted to say that. I wrote that in the very beginning. As soon as because being a person that suffers from food issues, it was like, boom, you got right to the heart of the matter, because that's where it is.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to help her absolutely get past this desire to replace love with bread.
Mm-hmm. Happy.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernie.
So I just wanted to just give you a shout out for that. That was brilliant.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about that you saw that you would like to discuss, or something you felt I could have done differently for a more thorough result?
No, I think you did personally just wonderful, actually.
Yeah.
Except for the box of tissues at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that you did a really, really good job of being quiet
Oh, yeah.
at pivotal points and just holding that space for her and giving her that opportunity to go in, you know, deep into her emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she segued out of it, but But yeah, you did a nice job. And I also just want to let you know that your voice, when you were taking her into that state, was so calming and sweet and comforting. Know that that's a strength of yours.
Thank
That's,
you, ma'am. I
yeah, it
appreciate
was
that.
beautiful. Beautiful.
I think you did amazing with the time that you had. The last thing that I want to say about the session is that when you got her to put her hand on her younger self's shoulder, like she did it and I kind of saw her hand move, but then she did it over here. So it was off camera that she actually was trying to do it, but there was literally an energy block. Like I felt that she could not push any of that calming energy to herself. Like she was trying, but it was not going through.
How about you, Justin? Anything?
When she was in 8th grade, she said she was home. That was her home for some reason. That was something that stood out. I was trying to figure out what that was. Do you guys remember when she said that?
She
I thought
had moved to Oregon from there.
Yeah, so she got out of the basement and moved, because that was when the stepdad and the grandma and everybody came in, right?
Yeah, and then they all got, I can't remember where they moved from, but they moved to Gold Beach, Oregon. And that's when everything started. I think that's when she came home emotionally.
Yeah, she started.
I think
to
that's when she felt safe. I think
feel
home became safety to her. I think I exchanged safety for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, if that is everything, thank you so much for being here this morning. We will be continuing next week with the same session, but just the audio. And then we will be discussing after the session what you were able to pick up when you're not watching for things with your ears. What was being said that you didn't hear before. The week after that will be just the video, where we will be looking at the eye movement, when she leans out, when she leans in, so there's a bunch of different ways that we can begin to explore how to really give our clients space to speak without speaking. And then the last session will be Angela watching all of this and giving us feedback. So
Awesome.
That was going to be my question. When is she going to be, are you going to be able to do this with her as a one-to-one before she joins us? Okay, good.
Yeah, she will be watching all of these videos, and then she and I will be having a discussion and recording a 4th feedback video in which she discusses what all of you caught, what your premonitions were, what your intuition was, what she believes to be true at this moment in her life, and what she doesn't believe to be true. So it just gives us the ability to hear directly from the client's mouth whether or not we're actually able to pick stuff up in a session, because that's so important for us to begin to entrust our own tuition and our own ability to be ourselves in a session.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and this will be posted up in the Coaching Deep Dive group on the website post haste, which kind of means today sometime.